We're going to be answering questions 5 through 8 for these two functions separately. So this first function, f of x, it wants to know the degree of the polynomial. Now, what that means is we're trying to look for the highest power if it were in standard form. Right now, it is not in standard form. It's in factored form. So we have x squared here, but we also have x cubed. So if we multiply this out, we would have x cubed plus blah, 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 blah. But an x cubed and an x squared is going to give us x to the 5th when all is said and done. So the degree of this polynomial is 5. Which means the maximum number of turning points. So we don't know how many there are, but the maximum number of turning points is always 1 less. So this is going to be 4 here. And then it wants to know what power function it resembles. Now, first of all, we have the degree already. So I know it resembles x to the 5th right away. Okay, so that's always going to be it. But what you need to add here is the leading coefficient. Now here, the coefficient is 1. Here, the coefficient is 1. And here, the coefficient is -7. So if we multiplied it all together, it would be -7x to the 5th. So if we actually multiplied all of this out, the leading term would be -7x to the 5th. And that is why it's the power function that our polynomial resembles. Now, the power function, that's for our end behavior. So again, if you have a leading coefficient that's negative and you have an odd power, that means the left end is going up, the right end is going down. That's what our power function tells us.
So how did you get the 5th degree?
The 5th degree was from x squared
To the 3rd power.
and then x to the 3rd, so you have 5 x's. So that's x to the 5th. So you got to count how many x's you have.
Oh, so we have to distribute it. So.
Yeah, so it would be like if you distributed it out, that's what would happen. All right, the real zeros. Here, if we solved, we would have x squared equals -4. That's going to give you plus or minus 2i. All right, that is not real. That's an imaginary zero. The only real zero is x minus 8 equals 0, gives us 8 for our 0. Okay, so going to the next one here. All right, we need to determine how many x's we have. Again, we have 2 x's from this one. So 1, 2. How many x's are we going to get from this? 5. So 7 total, so that's our degree. Okay, now using our degree, what do we know for this power function? It's going to be x to the 7th. What's the leading coefficient for this one? It's going to be 5. And then how many possible turning points? 6. And then what are the real zeros here? Just 4. This does have zeros, right? This will be plus or minus 3i, but they are not real, and it only wants the real zeros here.
Plus or minus 3i.
To find the zeros, you set your factors equal to 0 and solve for x. So x squared plus 9 equals 0, right? So x squared equals -9. When you take the square root of a negative number, that's your plus or minus 3i. Mm-hmm.
Why 3i?
Because the square root of 9 is 3.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So